You are strapped into the cockpit of a $90 million machine. Your resting heart rate is 170 beats per minute, and the race hasn't even started. The noise of 20 hybrid engines vibrating against the asphalt is so loud, it physically reverberates in the fluid of your spine. Through your rain-soaked visor, you stare at the 5 red lights suspended above the grid. Behind you are 10 years of unimaginable financial ruin, broken relationships, and near-death experiences. Everyone looking at you right now expects absolute mathematical perfection. If your braking foot is too heavy by half an inch, you hit the concrete barrier at 190 miles per hour, your body absorbing forces that can shatter ribs. If your foot is too light, you lose the corner, you lose the point, you lose the multi-million-dollar contract, and you are forgotten forever. There are no excuses at this level. You do not just drive a car. You pilot a missile on tires, navigating a razor-thin line between ultimate glory and irrelevance. The carbon fiber chassis acts as an extension of your own nervous system. You can feel the exact temperature of the front left tire fading. You can feel the aerodynamic drag pushing down on your neck. The first red light illuminates, then the second, then the third. The roaring of the engines hits a fever pitch. Millions of people are watching from home, judging a journey they could never survive. The fourth light, the fifth light. You hold your breath. The red lights go out. The absolute silence in your head begins. Level 1. The Karting Prodigy. You are 9 years old. It is pouring out. The freezing rain cuts right through your cheap racing suit at a floodlit track in northern Italy. While other kids have state-of-the-art enclosed awnings with heaters, you and your father are stationed out of the back of a 20-year-old station wagon. His hands are blue from the cold as he desperately tries to fix a bent steering column using tools bought from a discount hardware store. The foam seat inserts in your second-hand cart are completely worn out, held together by silver duct tape because your father couldn't afford a custom fiberglass mold. You go out onto the freezing track. Under the glaring floodlights, you clip a wet curb violently, spin into the muddy grass, and instantly stall the engine. A track marshal yells at you in Italian to get out of the way. You don't cry. You unbuckle, step into the freezing mud, and push the incredibly heavy cart out of the grass yourself, your boots slipping in the dirt. That single weekend costs your family $800. It is money they absolutely do not have. Your mother starts working double shifts on weekends. Your parents sleep in the front seats of the freezing station wagon, so they can afford to buy you a hot meal at the track diner. You learn very early on that you are not driving for fun. You are driving to justify their sacrifice. You cannot afford to lose, because losing means the journey ends completely. By age 12, the pressure has aged you. You are competing against 15-year-olds on the regional circuits, and you are actively beating them. The paddock knows your name, but they do not respect you. Your main rival arrives to every race in a massive climate-controlled RV. He is backed by an energy drink sponsor and has a personal mechanic scanning his tire temperatures with lasers. You arrive with your father's rusty toolbox and a hand-drawn map of the corners. In the final qualifying session of the year, the track is drying. The RV kid goes out and sets a blistering lap. You go out immediately after. You push the cart to the absolute limit of adhesion, feeling the chassis flex and twist under you. You cross the line and you beat him by exactly 3 milliseconds. When you pull into the pits, you see his wealthy father glaring at you from the fence. It isn't a look of sporting competition. It is genuine hostility. You aren't just a kid driving fast anymore. You are a threat to their million-dollar investments. You learn the first bitter truth of motorsport. Speed is cheap. Winning takes everything. Level 2. The Academy Mercenary. You are 14. Your regional performances catch the eye of a European Formula 4 team. and they sign you to their junior driver academy. For the first time in your life, you are leaving home. You move alone to a grey, freezing dormitory in the UK located a mile away from the team factory. You share a cramped apartment with two other teenage drivers, an arrogant French prodigy who ignores you and a silent German who barely speaks English. You eat pasta out of a plastic container every single night to save your tiny stipend. You enter the team factory for the first time. It is a sterile, hyper-advanced facility that looks like a NASA laboratory. Your data engineer is a harsh, unsmiling veteran named Vance. Vance has seen 100 kids just like you come through these doors, and he has seen 99 of them fail. I don't care if you're naturally fast, Vance tells you on day one, looking directly into your eyes without blinking. I only care if you are mathematically consistent. You are plunged into the simulator. It is not a video game. It is a grueling, multi-million-dollar hydraulic rig that brutally replicates the G-forces of the real car. You spend hundreds of hours in the dark simulator room, running the same track over and over until your hands physically blister inside your gloves. Vance stands behind you, staring at the telemetry screens, constantly critiquing. You memorize braking telemetry codes in your sleep. You start dreaming in apexes and throttle percentages. The jump to the F4 car is terrifying. It is heavier, faster, and infinitely more complex than a kart. During your first test, you lock the brakes and flat spot the tires, ruining a $1,200 set of rubber in 3 seconds. Vance makes you stay in the garage and help the mechanics clean the car as punishment. By the final race of the season, the endless repetition pays off. You score your first podium. You step onto the second place step, clutching the trophy, expecting a celebration. Vance doesn't smile. He walks up to you in the paddock and simply hands you a printout with 3 highlighted mistakes you made on lap 14. You frame that piece of paper. It becomes your religion. Level 3. The feeder series Bottleneck. You are 16. You are advancing through Formula 3 and Formula 2. This is the most brutal bottleneck in global sports. There are thousands of drivers worldwide trying to get into F1, and only 20 seats exist. In Formula 3, the tracks are legendary, and the danger becomes incredibly real. At Spa-Francorchamps, you face the infamous Eau Rouge corner for the first time. It is a violent, uphill, blind sweep taken completely flat out. The first time you take the crest without lifting the throttle, the sudden vertical G-force physically tears a muscle deep in your untrained neck. You cannot turn your head to the left without searing pain. You refuse to tell the medical staff. You wrap your neck in athletic tape and race the entire weekend in blinding agony, popping painkillers just to make it out of the cockpit. The cars now rely heavily on aerodynamic slipstreams. The dirty air thrown off the car ahead makes your own car wildly unstable. At Silverstone, you engage in a terrifying 160 mph drafting battle with an older, highly rated teammate. You go wheel to wheel into a high-speed sweeper. Neither of you wants to yield. The physics say that 2 cars will not fit. You hold the steering wheel dead straight, staring into his helmet visor at 160 miles per hour, waiting to see who blinks first. He lifts off the throttle. You experience the intoxicating, terrifying rush of asserting pure psychological dominance over another human's fear. By age 19, you advance to Formula 2. You are now fighting for your literal career. You have exactly 1 year to win the title, or you will be labeled unexceptional and forgotten forever. F1 teams do not want a driver who takes 3 years to win in the feeder series. The F2 car feels like a heavy, violent rocket ship that actively wants to kill you. The championship decider takes place in Monaco. It starts to drizzle. Half the grid pits for wet tires. You refuse. You stay out on completely bald slicks, sliding through the swimming pool chicane with millimeters to spare. You nearly hit the steel Armco barriers 3 times. Your rear tires hydroplaning over the painted lines. You hold the steering wheel so tightly. Your knuckles bleed inside your gloves. You survive by outdriving the sheer lack of grip. You cross the line first. You don't cheer. You just close your eyes and exhale. You've secured the F1 Super License Level 4, the F1 backmarker. You are 21. You have finally made it. You are a Formula One driver, but reality hits you instantly. Your first preseason test is in Bahrain. The media circus is absolutely suffocating. You have a PR handler explicitly telling you what to say, where to look, and who to smile at. You are asked 50 questions a day by brutal journalists aiming to trip you up. Is he too young? Can he handle the pressure? Did he only get the seat because of his junior backers? But the real nightmare is the machine itself. You are driving for a backmarker team. The car is an unbalanced, unreliable, aerodynamically flawed tractor. You push the car absolutely to the edge of its physical limit, putting in the lap of your life, and you still qualify 18th. During the race, the physical toll is a horror show. Over a brutal 2-hour duration, the heat inside your cockpit reaches 120 degrees Fahrenheit. You literally sweat out 6 pounds of pure body weight. You are drinking hot, terrible tasting fluid through a straw while calculating differential settings at 190 miles per hour. When you hit high-speed corners, you pull 5.5 Gs of lateral force. That is a weight so heavy, it feels like your internal organs are being ripped away from your ribcage. You are lapped by the front runners. The humiliation of seeing the blue flags wave for you is crushing. Lewis Hamilton passes you, like you are standing perfectly still, the wind shear rocking your chassis. Your race engineer is a brilliant data analyst named Sarah. She strips the ego away from you immediately. You are not racing the front, she tells you over the radio. Your only job, your only purpose this year is to destroy the guy in the identical car. You focus entirely on your teammate. You study his inputs. You learn where he brakes early. You out-qualify him 4 races in a row, utterly destroying his confidence in the garage. The media barely notices you, but the top teams in the paddock quietly add your name to a heavily guarded spreadsheet. Level 5. The midfield grinder. You are 23. You have clawed your way into a prominent midfield team. You are a mercenary now. Fighting for 8th place against aggressive, desperate veterans feels like fighting a world war. The margin between 8th place and 13th place is less than 0.2 of a second. Every single braking zone is a battle for survival. The F1 calendar expands to an agonizing 24 races. You are constantly on 20-hour flights. The jet lag is permanent. The hotels all blend into one endless beige room. You haven't seen your family or slept in your own bed in months. Your entire world is confined to the airport, the hotel, the paddock, and the simulator. A highly sponsored 20-year-old rookie joins your team. He arrives with millions of dollars in backing and the absolute arrogance of youth. He looks at you like you are a stepping stone. He has faster reaction times and infinitesimally better simulator data. You realize a terrifying truth. Raw talent is no longer enough to keep your job. You have to rely on dark arts. You have to rely on racecraft. During free practice at Suzuka, you start playing psychological warfare. You know, he relies heavily on visual braking points, copying your telemetry. You deliberately brake test him, lifting off the throttle 50 meters early, going into a high-speed hairpin. It completely shatters his rhythm. It messes with his subconscious reference points. In qualifying, desperate to match your pace, he overdrives the car, misses the apex, and puts it in the wall, destroying a $1 million chassis. You out-qualify him by half a second, survive another year not by being faster, but by being infinitely more ruthlessly intelligent. Level 6. The factory seat. You are 25. The call finally comes. You secure a seat at a top-tier factory team. The budget is unlimited. The facility employs 1,000 engineers. You walk into the garage on Thursday, and the pressure is instantly suffocating. There are no more excuses. The car is capable of winning, which means any failure, any lack of pace is instantly entirely your fault. The Canadian Grand Prix in Montreal. The circuit is a high-speed, wall-lined gauntlet. You qualify second, so you hold position for 60 laps, stalking the leader. The physical exhaustion is setting in. Your left leg is cramping from the stiff brake pedal. A late red flag is thrown for a massive crash on the back straight. The race is restarted with only 3 laps to go. This is the moment your entire life has built toward. You get a perfect launch. You tuck into the slipstream of the leader, coming down the massive back straight toward the final chicane, the infamous Wall of Champions. You deploy all your electrical energy. You dive aggressively down the inside. The car snaps wildly. You lock up the front left tire, sending a massive plume of white smoke into the air, but you force the leader to yield. You rotate the car, ride the curbing, and brush the concrete wall with your rear tire, leaving a black smear of rubber. You make the pass stick. You cross the finish line. The checkered flag drops. You win. The explosion of relief in your chest is indescribable. You scream into the helmet microphone until your throat is completely raw. Your race engineer is crying on the radio. The team principal is cheering on the pit wall. When you finally get back to your driver room, exhausted, coated in sweat and champagne, you call your father. He answers the phone. He doesn't say he's proud of you. He just exhales deeply and says, "It's about time." Level 7. The title fight. You are 26. You are fighting the reigning veteran world champion for the ultimate prize. The toxicity of the rivalry grips the entire global sporting world. It goes far beyond racing. It becomes deeply personal warfare. The reigning champion is a master of the dark arts. He plays brilliant mind games in the press, calling you erratic and emotional to try and force you into mistakes. He refuses to acknowledge you in the paddock. On the track, the tension reaches a boiling point. In Austria, he coldly forces you off into the gravel trap at 180 miles per hour. The stewards do nothing. The media expects you to back down. The paddock assumes the veteran has broken you. But they don't understand the child. From the freezing karting track in Valencia, you are not capable of being broken. In the very next race at Silverstone, you approach the ultra-fast Copse corner side by side. He expects you to yield, just like everyone else has yielded to him for a decade. You do not touch the brakes. You hold your line with absolute psychopathic commitment. The collision is massive. A 150 mph impact that destroys his car and sends both of you violently into the tire barriers. You climb out of the smoking, shattered carbon fiber wreckage. You take off your helmet. He stands up from the gravel trap and violently throws his steering wheel. He looks at you. You look back with dead, calm eyes. He knows, right then, in that exact second, that you are completely unafraid of him. The power dynamic of the entire championship permanently shifts. Level 8. The world champion. You are 27. The season finale takes place under the blinding lights of the desert in Abu Dhabi. The points are tied. It is a winner-take-all scenario. In the final stint of the race, you push the car into realms of speed that completely contradict physics. You are brushing the walls so closely that the paint transfers onto your tires. You manage to build a 3-second gap, maintaining terrifying precision for 20 flawless, metronomic laps. You cross the start-finish line. You win the world championship. The sheer explosion of relief brings you to actual tears inside the cockpit. You pull into Parc Fermé, stand on top of the halo, and roar at the grandstands. For 24 hours, if you are on top of the world, you are a god. You achieved the impossible dream. But when you wake up 2 days later in a silent hotel room, The euphoria is entirely gone. It evaporates like smoke. It is replaced by a cold, heavy, suffocating dread. You realize the terrifying reality of the summit. You are the king, which means every incredibly hungry, ruthless, starving teenager back in F2 is now explicitly aiming to end your career. By your late 20s, the sport turns against you. New era regulations are specifically introduced to slow your car down and end your team's dominance. The new chassis develops immense, unpredictable snap oversteer. You cannot rely on raw pace anymore. You have to completely reinvent your driving style to keep the car on the track. You begin winning races, not by disappearing into the distance, but by relentlessly managing tires, calculating fuel burn ratios, and deploying pure, cold intelligence. When you drag this broken, inferior car to a brilliant tactical victory in the sweltering heat of Singapore, the older mechanics in the garage applaud in genuine awe rather than mere celebration. They aren't clapping for the machine anymore. They are clapping for the sheer, profound genius of the driver. Level 9. The Elder Statesman. You are 33. You have won multiple world titles. A young, incredibly fast 19-year-old Prodigy joins the grid. In a press conference, he points to a poster of you and tells the media that you are the sole reason he started karting. You understand, with a quiet melancholy, that your role in the sport is fundamentally shifting. You are no longer the ruthless mercenary. You have become the elder statesman. In the grueling 5-hour technical engineering debriefs, you willingly give away your secrets to the team. You become a master tactician, a mentor in the paddock. You look at the telemetry of the young Prodigy, and you show him exactly where he is losing a tenth of a second into turn 4. But physically, the sport is demanding its ultimate toll. Your reaction times have slowed by perhaps 0.05 seconds, imperceptible to normal humans, but massive in an F1 car. The recovery after a brutal Sunday race no longer takes a quick jog on Monday morning. It now takes 3 agonizing days of ice baths, deep tissue physiotherapy, and painkillers just to walk without a limp. The speed is absolutely still there. The mind is sharper than ever, but the body is screaming for mercy. Level 10. The Immortal Legend. You are 36, and you decide to retire. The decision is not forced by the team. You make the call sitting quietly at your kitchen table in Geneva, looking at a calendar, realizing you no longer want to live out of a suitcase. You decide to go out on exactly your own terms. The farewell tour is strange and beautiful. For the first time in your entire life, since you were 9 years old in the freezing rain, there is a complete lack of fear. You aren't driving for a contract. You aren't driving for money. You aren't driving to appease the ghost of your father's expectations. You are just driving for the pure, unadulterated love of the machine. In your final race, you hook up the absolute perfect lap. You hit every apex, you ride every curb. You cross the finish line for the last time as the checkered flag waves. You press the radio button. Thank you for the machine, you deeply whisper. The engineers in the garage wipe tears from their eyes. The headset goes dead. Epilogue. Years later, you are wealthy, comfortable, and finally at peace. You do not miss the politics or the stress. But the roar of an internal combustion engine never entirely leaves a racer's blood. You stand at a rain-soaked, floodlit karting track in northern Italy. The memory of the cold wind is deeply familiar. You lean against a chain-link fence in the shadows, away from the crowds, watching the new generation spot a shivering, exhausted 9-year-old kid struggling to control a cart with a seat patched together by duct tape. The kid pushes too hard, clips a wet curb, and spins violently into the thick mud. The kid doesn't cry. The kid gets out, boots slipping in the dirt, and furiously pushes the incredibly heavy cart back onto the asphalt without asking for help from anyone. The kid drops the visor and looks toward the fence, You catch the kid's eye through the tinted plastic. You don't smile, you don't wave. You just give a single, silent, deeply respectful nod because you know exactly what it costs to start the engine again.